Hey everybody, my name is Alicia. So today I'm going to be talking about my most anticipated reads, I guess, but of popular books that have been out for a long time. So I am, first of all, new to booktube, and I used to love reading. I would check out books from the library and ebooks and things like that. And kind of for a little while I had stopped doing that and I wasn't really reading a lot. And then when I did get back into reading, I was still reading a lot on my computer or ebooks or whatever. So I've tried to get more into reading physical books, and I kind of have missed out on a lot of popular books that have come out in the last few years that I know everybody raves about on booktube. So I've slowly been trying to get back into reading and reading a lot of the really good, really popular books. So this video is kind of going to be about the popular books in the fantasy genre, mostly YA fantasy, that I have missed out on, and I'm super excited to read this following year. So the first book that I want to get us started on is called Shadow and Bone, and I know this book is going to be really popular. It has been really popular, and it's going to be even more popular this coming year because of the new TV show, which I am super excited about. And I have actually read Six of Crows, which was I guess, it takes place in the same world, but it's a different story and has different characters and everything. But I have read those and absolutely loved those. And so I'm really looking forward to this one. I know, kind of I guess the magic system wasn't really all that explained in Six of Crows because it was a different kind of plot, So I really am looking forward to seeing where the magic comes from, the world building, all of that. And I love Leigh Bardugo's writing, so I know that part I'm gonna love. And so for those of you who don't know, this book is basically, it takes place in this fantasy world called Ravka, and it's Russian inspired, so the setting is very Russian. And I believe the main character, Alina, is kind of the chosen one concept where she doesn't know about these powers or the magic that she possesses. And so in a time of, I think, a lot of contention in the world and with enemies and things like that, she kind of becomes the one to lead. And so she's, I guess, taken to a kind of training thing where she meets the Darkling, who is the leader of the Ravkan army, the magical army. And then her best friend she's trying to save, or there's something going on there. And so I believe it's a bit of a love triangle, and the romance department, people are very on the sides of the two characters that she could be with. So I'm also looking forward to seeing what that was all about. And just, yeah, the world and the magic I know is really interesting in Six of Crows. There's some talk of it, but we don't really get a lot of obviously the backstory and where it all comes from and the stakes and all of that. So really looking forward to this one. And I know there's 3 books, so I'm definitely wanting to finish before April because that's when the show comes out, and again, cannot wait for the show. So definitely want to finish this series before the show comes. So the next book on my list which is another huge favorite of booktube, and I've heard a lot of great things about it, so I'm really looking forward to this too, is A Darker Shade of Magic, this series by V.E. Schwab. So V.E. Schwab, I love V.E. Schwab, and it is very surprising that I haven't read this book, but I know this whole concept just seems really, really interesting. I think I honestly have never heard of or read of anything like this. I think just the setting and the magic system and everything is really, really cool, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. So if you haven't read this book, basically, it's a little confusing to explain, but basically, it's about, there are four Londons, and each London is a different color. So I think there's gray, red, white, and black. So I think each London has its own kind of system and its own stuff going on, and the main character, whose name is Kel, can travel between each London. And so that's really unheard of. I think he's the last one to be able to do that. And he's a magician who can do that. And so as he travels through the different Londons, he's also a smuggler. And so he's into this kind of dangerous business. And one day he gets robbed by a character named Delilah. And I guess bad things start happening. There's a lot of enemies after him and Delilah, and so they have to, I guess, go figure that out. So yeah, like it definitely talks a lot about like the magic. So I think this is definitely, it feels like it's gonna be a little Harry Potter-esque, not necessarily in the plot, but just in terms of like magicians and London and all of that. So that's really exciting. I think just the idea, I think, of 4 Londons that are like maybe like parallel universes or something like that, and being able to like move through them, that also sounds really cool. So yeah, definitely I think this one, the most exciting part is just the setting and the plot. I don't really know much about like the characters or the romance or anything like that, if there is a romance, but yeah, just this plot. Like I said earlier, I really haven't heard of anything like this, and so like really looking forward to that. And I know V. Schwab is amazing, so I know it's gonna be great, and I know a lot of people love it, so cannot wait to get started with this one. This also has 3 books in the series, and so yeah, it definitely won't take long to get through it, and I'm super excited. So my next read is maybe not as universally loved, I think, in booktube. Like I have heard some people who don't like it and don't like the I guess the plot and maybe the magic and whatnot, but it is Caraval. And first of all, just this cover is one of the reasons that I really want to read it. This is so beautiful and so cool. And then the concept, I think the idea of basically a carnival, or like a circus kind of thing, like that sounds really cool. And just, I mean, honestly, this cover is the reason I'm reading it. Like, I definitely wanted this on my shelf, and so I'm hoping I really love it, and I feel like I will. But if you haven't read the book, basically it's about, I think, 2 sisters who live in this it's an island, I guess, a tiny island. So they live with their father, and one of the sisters, Scarlett, is being sent away to get married. And before she gets married, she really wanted to go to this once a year amazing, basically, Caraval. That's what the event is called. And it's a kind of like, I guess it's like a do like your own adventure kind of thing. Like the audience participates and it's very like interactive. So she's like, she was really looking forward to going to this thing, but she's getting married. So her sister basically whisks her away to go to Caraval and see what it's all about. And while they're there, though, Scarlett's sister gets kidnapped. And so basically she has to find a way to get her sister back. And the person who kidnapped her is the, I guess, organizer or leader of Caraval. So yeah, another one that seemed like a little bit of a confusing plot, but it definitely, I think, just based on the plot and the setting, seems like it's gonna be really good, like really fun. It seems like it's gonna be fast paced and like a lot's gonna be going on. And I think with these types of books, I'm definitely more of into like the actual plot and like making sure it's fun and like adventurous and stuff is going on. But I also want to see like the character development, what their goals and motivations and things like that are, because it's, I guess, like maybe more of a family story because the 2 sisters are involved. So that'll also be really fun to see. And yeah, this is, again, like I said, I think one of the more, I don't want to say controversial, but one of the not like universally liked by everyone, you know? So it's definitely, there are people who love it and then people who hate it. And I am hoping I'm one of the people who loves it. And I feel like I will be, but we will see. So my second to last book on this list is another one that is really popular. It's actually fairly new. It's not as old as the other ones. I think came out in 2018. And that one is truly Devious. And another one where just, oh, this cover, amazing. But basically, this is not a fantasy series. It's a mystery series. So definitely a change of pace, a little different than the other books. And I love a good mystery and a thriller, suspense type of book. So this is definitely in my wheelhouse. And another aspect that I think I'm going to love is actually takes place in a school setting. So it takes place in Ellingham Academy, which is a private school in the book. And so I love actually like kind of school setting, college setting books. So I think that's going to be really cool. And so if you haven't read this book, basically it's about this private school where like really good inventors and thinkers and artists come to. And years ago, there was, I think, the Ellingham Academy's, like the guy who founded it, his wife and daughter were kidnapped and then murdered. And it's been an unsolved crime, unsolved case. And so in current day, there's a new student who comes in, and she basically says that like, I am gonna solve this crime, this cold case, and figure out what's going on. And so the book is basically about solving the crime and figuring out who murdered the wife and the daughter. And so, yeah, like it seems like just a kind of good old mystery novel. You have a murder, you have a crime, and then you have this character who's going to come in and save the day. And so I think just in general, I think just based on the plot, it's going to be great. It's going to be really fun and interesting, and I'm really looking forward to this one. And so there's 3 novels. I think it says it's a trilogy, but I actually think there's a 4th book coming out in 2021. So if that is true, I would like to finish the 3 first and then be ready to go when the 4th one comes out. And yeah, they're not actually too long or anything, so I think this will also be a nice and fun one to read. So can't wait. So my last book on this list is actually probably the one I'm most excited to read. I know it's dearly beloved by the booktube community, and I like 99% sure I'm gonna love it. So that is An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. And so this, first of all, just the fact that it's a brown girl and like a brown setting and everything, South Asian inspired. So I think like that part in and of itself is the reason I'm so excited to read this. And I honestly don't know how I haven't heard of this or read this before, given that it's probably one of like the very few South Asian representation that you find in fantasy books. And just this cover too, like having a, brown female front and center on the book is amazing. So definitely love that aspect about this book. Also just the South Asian inspired background and like setting and everything. I'm super excited to read that and see kind of what comes from like the culture and like what's shown and seen and what parts and all of that. So really looking forward to that. And yeah, like just this representation, this is what we need, like, and I know a lot more, especially in current times, there's a lot more books with like South Asian representation, Asian, Black representation. So that's just amazing. And I know that this book does a pretty good job of that. So I am like really looking forward to that. And so if you haven't read this book, it's also another really great kind of plot and interesting stuff going on. So basically there's 2 characters. There's Laya, who is a slave, and Elias, who is a soldier. And so it takes place in this kind of empire that's very oppressive, very cruel and everything. And so Laya, who is a slave to the empire, her brother is taken. And to get him back, she basically has to go into this empire like school, the military academy, where Elias is training. And so she has to go there and basically help out in kind of spying for the empire and like doing stuff like that. And in return, she would get her brother back. But obviously, I don't think it's gonna be that easy. And yeah, so just having, I guess, like brown representation in like a fantasy book like that, like, like I can tell like Alaya is gonna be the one who's gonna kick some ass and do some great stuff. And she's a brown character, and that's just amazing. Like I honestly, I'm so excited to read this. And I'm sure a lot of people know that the 4th book just came out, I believe, in December. And so there's a lot of hype around it right now, and I'm hoping to really catch up soon. And yeah, like again, this is definitely like number 1 on my most anticipated for these books. I for sure think I'm gonna love it, and I cannot wait to get started on this one. So thank you guys for coming to my channel and checking out this video. Please give your feedback on these books. Do you guys like them? Do you think I'm gonna like them? Are they worth the hype? All of that stuff. Maybe let me know which one I should start with. Honestly, I think it's gonna be Shadow and Bone because I do want to finish that series before April. And I'll probably read it all together. But let me know. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video, and see you guys next time.